The apartment smelled like burnt ramen and desperation. Maya Rodriguez stood at her kitchen counter at 11:43 on a Tuesday night, staring at the past due notice from the university bursar's office. $3,200. Due in 2 weeks, or she'd be dropped from her nursing program. 2 years of sleepless nights, clinical rotations, and living on caffeine and hope, all about to disappear because she couldn't scrape together enough money. Her phone buzzed. Another text from her roommate Jenna, who was currently at some party Maya had declined. "You're 22, not 82. Come out for once." Maya ignored it. She had a pathophysiology exam in the morning and a double shift at the campus bookstore tomorrow afternoon. Fun was a luxury she couldn't afford. Her phone buzzed again, but this time it was the Sitter Match app. A notification for a last-minute job. She opened it, expecting the usual request for a few hours on the weekend. What she saw made her breath catch. One night. Tonight. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. $800. Maya read it 3 times to make sure she wasn't hallucinating from exhaustion. $800 for one overnight babysitting job? That was more than she made in 2 weeks at the bookstore. Her finger hovered over the accept button. The address was in Gold Coast, Chicago's wealthiest neighborhood, the kind of place where doormen wore better suits than her professors. The client had 5-star reviews, all recent. Professional, generous, beautiful home, well-behaved child. The profile photo showed a massive penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Lake, Michigan. No photo of the parent, just the stunning view. Maya's instincts screamed that something about this felt off. Normal people didn't pay $800 for 8 hours of babysitting, but normal people also didn't face getting kicked out of nursing school in 2 weeks. She hit accept. 20 minutes later, Maya stood outside a building that made her feel like she'd walked onto a movie set. The doorman, who did indeed wear a nicer suit than any of her professors, regarded her with polite skepticism. Name? Maya Rodriguez. I'm here for the babysitting job. Penthouse? If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. His expression shifted to something she couldn't quite read. Recognition mixed with what might have been pity. Of course, elevator to your left. Penthouse requires a key card. He handed her one. Return it when you leave. The elevator was the kind with mirrors and soft lighting that made even her Target jeans and worn sneakers look slightly less shabby. She watched the floor numbers climb. 20th floor, 30th, 40th. The building only went to 42. The penthouse occupied the top 2 floors. When the elevator doors opened, Maya stepped into a private foyer that was bigger than her entire apartment. Marble floors. A chandelier that probably cost more than her tuition. And silence. The kind of heavy, expensive silence that only serious money could buy. She raised her hand to knock on the massive double doors, but they opened before her knuckles made contact. A woman in her 50s with steel gray hair and a crisp black suit stood there. Not warm, but not unkind. "Miss Rodriguez?" "Yes. I'm here too. The child is asleep. Master Nico, 18 months old." The woman's accent was faint, Eastern European maybe. "He may wake once during the night. Bottle is prepared in the warmer. Diapers and supplies in the nursery. Mr. Valentino will return by 7 a.m. Wait, I should meet. Mr. Valentino had an emergency. He left 20 minutes ago." The woman was already pulling on a coat. "You have my number in the app if there's a true emergency, but there won't be. Nico is a good baby. Keep the doors locked. Don't answer if anyone knocks. The security system is armed." Maya's heart started hammering. What kind of emergency would... "You'll be fine." The woman handed her a piece of paper with Wi-Fi password and emergency numbers. "Kitchen is stocked if you're hungry. Do not go into Mr. Valentino's office. 3rd door on the left. It's locked anyway. Good night, Miss Rodriguez." And just like that, the woman was gone, the elevator doors closing behind her, leaving Maya alone in a penthouse that probably had more square footage than her entire childhood home. She stood there for a moment, taking it in. The space was decorated in dark woods and leather, masculine but not cold. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed Chicago's skyline glittering like scattered diamonds. Art on the walls that looked real, not prints. Furniture that belonged in magazines. And the silence. That expensive, unnerving silence. Maya found the nursery following the woman's directions. The door was cracked open, a nightlight casting a soft glow. She peeked in and her chest tightened at the sight of the little boy sleeping in his crib. He looked perfect. Chubby cheeks pressed against a stuffed elephant, dark curls plastered to his forehead. One tiny fist curled near his face. 18 months old. The same age her nephew had been before her sister moved to California. Maya felt that familiar pull, the one that had made her choose nursing in the first place. The need to protect, to care, to make sure the vulnerable were safe. She backed out quietly, leaving the door cracked, and explored the rest of the penthouse. 2 hours passed. Then 3. Maya studied for her exam at the massive kitchen island, her textbook looking out of place among the marble and stainless steel. She made herself tea in a kitchen that had appliances she'd only seen on cooking shows. At 2:15 a.m., she heard it. A sound that made her training kick in immediately. Not crying, gagging. Maya was moving before conscious thought, her sneakers silent on the hardwood as she rushed to the nursery. The nightlight showed her everything she needed to see. Nico was sitting up in his crib, his face turning an alarming shade of blue-purple. His little mouth opened and closed silently. His eyes were wide with terror. He was choking. Maya's hands were already reaching for him, muscle memory from her pediatric emergency training taking over. She pulled him from the crib, positioned him face down along her forearm, head lower than his chest. 1, 2, 3, firm back blows between his shoulder blades. Nothing. His little body was rigid with panic. No air moving, no sound. "Come on, baby. Come on." Her voice was steady, even as her heart tried to punch through her ribs. She flipped him over, found the right position, 2 fingers on his sternum, 5 quick chest thrusts. Nothing. His lips were darker now. 30 seconds, maybe 45, since she'd found him. Brain damage started at 4 minutes without oxygen. Maya delivered 3 more back blows, harder this time. "Breathe, Nico. Breathe." Then she saw it. A small object, caught at the very back of his throat, visible but unreachable with her finger. If she tried to sweep it out blindly, she'd push it deeper. But if she didn't get it out in the next 60 seconds, this baby was going to die in her arms. She made a decision, positioned him carefully, delivered 1 more forceful back blow while simultaneously doing a modified Heimlich, pressing his stomach against her thigh. The combination of pressure and gravity did what neither technique had done alone. A small plastic piece, maybe from a toy, shot from Nico's mouth and skittered across the floor. The baby gasped. A horrible, wet, desperate sound. Then he screamed. The most beautiful scream Maya had ever heard, because it meant air was moving, lungs were working, he was alive. She pulled him against her chest, one hand supporting his head, the other rubbing his back. "You're okay. You're okay. I've got you." Her voice shook now that the crisis had passed. Her hands trembled. Nico wailed, clutching her shirt with surprising strength for someone who'd been oxygen-deprived seconds ago. Maya checked him quickly, color returning to pink, breathing fast but clear, pupils equal and reactive, no signs of aspiration. He was going to be fine. She had him. He was safe. That's when she heard it. The front door opening, footsteps, quick and purposeful, multiple sets, men's voices, low and urgent, then one voice that cut through everything else, sharp with barely controlled panic. "Where is he?" Maya turned toward the nursery door, Nico still screaming in her arms, and froze. 3 men in dark suits filled the doorway, but her eyes locked on the one in the center. He was tall, well over 6 feet, with black hair, a sharp jawline, and eyes so dark they looked black in the dim light. His suit probably cost more than her car. Actually, more than 3 of her cars. He radiated authority and something else, something that made her primitive brain whisper danger. But what struck her most was the expression on his face. Raw terror, quickly masked but not before she saw it. This was a man who feared nothing except whatever he'd imagined had happened to the child she was holding. "He's okay," Maya said quickly. "He's okay. The man crossed the room in 3 strides and took Nico from her arms with surprising gentleness. The baby's cries changed pitch, recognizing his father. "Papa, Papa." The little voice was hoarse from screaming but healthy, alive. "Nico. Mio figlio." The man's voice cracked just slightly on those words. His large hands checked the boy with practiced efficiency, looking for injuries, signs of distress. His eyes, when they lifted to Maya's, had shifted from terrified father to something colder, calculating, What happened? Maya's mouth was dry. 3 men in expensive suits. A penthouse in Gold Coast. $800 for one night. The way the doorman had looked at her. That housekeeper's warning, not to answer the door. Do not go into Mr. Valentino's office. She'd been so focused on the money, on saving her college career, that she'd ignored every red flag. And now she was alone in a penthouse with a man who looked like he could break her in half without wrinkling his suit, trying to explain why his son had nearly died on her watch. He was choking, Maya said, keeping her voice steady. On this. She grabbed the plastic piece from where it had landed near the changing table. I found him maybe 2 minutes into it, performed back blows and chest thrusts until it dislodged. He's breathing clear now. No aspiration sounds. Color returned immediately. He should be fine, but you might want to have him checked by a pediatrician just to be safe. One of the other men, older with gray at his temples, spoke. Boss, we should get out. The man holding Nico didn't raise his voice, but the command was absolute. The 2 men vanished. Maya heard the nursery door click shut. They were alone, the 3 of them. A terrified college student, a mafia boss, because that's what he had to be. Every instinct Maya possessed screamed it, and the baby she'd just saved. You know, infant CPR. It wasn't a question. I'm a nursing student, 2nd year. Pediatric emergency training was last semester. His eyes never left hers. He was choking for 2 minutes? Maybe. I don't know exactly how long before I heard him. I was studying in the kitchen. He was silent. That's what choking is. No air means no sound. I heard him gagging and I ran. Where was Elena? The housekeeper? She left when I arrived. Around midnight. Something dangerous flashed across his face. She left you alone with him? I'm the babysitter. That's how babysitting works. Maya realized too late that sarcasm probably wasn't the smartest choice, but fear had a way of making her mouth run. Look, I didn't know, the job posting seemed I just needed the money for tuition and… How did you get this? Job? Sitter Match app. It posted tonight. Last minute, 800 for 8 hours. I thought it was too good to be true. But I'm desperate and stupid, apparently. So here we are. He studied her for a long moment. Nico had calmed down, his head resting on his father's shoulder, small thumb in his mouth. The man's hand moved in slow circles on his son's back, an automatic gesture of comfort that contrasted sharply with the intensity of his stare. What's your name? Maya Rodriguez. Maya. He said it slowly, like he was memorizing it. I'm Dominic Valentino. This is my son, Nico, and you just saved his life. I just did what anyone with training would do. Elena has worked for me for 12 years. She has medical training. Nico has 2 bodyguards who are supposed to be outside his door at all times. Yet tonight, the night I had to leave for an emergency, Elena suddenly had to leave early. Posted a babysitting job with my credit card on an app I don't use. The bodyguards both called in sick, and my 18-month-old son nearly choked to death in his own home. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Maya's arms broke out in goosebumps. You think someone did this on purpose? Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. I think, Dominic said quietly, that someone wanted my son dead tonight. And the only reason he's still breathing is because a nursing student who needed tuition money accepted a job that was too good to be true. Maya's knees went weak. She grabbed the edge of the changing table. Oh God. Can I see the object? She handed him the plastic piece. He examined it under the nightlight, his jaw tightening. This is from a toy we don't own. This was placed in his crib, specifically sized and shaped to lodge in a toddler's throat. Who would? Why would? That's what I'm going to find out. He looked at her again, and this time, there was something different in his expression. Calculation mixed with a decision being made. How much do you need for tuition? What? You said you needed money for tuition. How much? I 3,000, but I don't see what… You saved my son's life. That debt can never truly be repaid, but I can start by making sure you finish nursing school. He shifted Nico to his other arm, reached into his pocket with his free hand, and pulled out his phone. A few taps. Done. The full amount will be in your account by morning. Consider it a thank you. Maya's head spun. Mr. Valentino, I can't accept… You can and you will. His tone left no room for argument. But there's something else I need from you. And there it was. The catch. There was always a catch. What? I need you to stay. Stay? Here. With Nico. Until I figure out who tried to kill him and why. Dominic's eyes were intense, almost black in the low light. Someone in my organization is betraying me. Someone with access to my home, my security, my staff. I can't trust anyone except the one person who had nothing to gain by keeping him alive and everything to lose by being here. You want me to be his babysitter? Like, permanently? I want you to be his protection. You have the training. You proved you have the instincts. And you're the only person in this building right now that I know isn't trying to kill my son. I'm a nursing student. I don't know anything about your world. I'm nobody. Exactly. He took a step closer. Even holding a toddler, even in this soft nightlight, he was intimidating. Not through aggression, but through sheer presence. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody sees you as a threat. You're perfect. This is insane. This is survival. His survival. He shifted so she could see Nico's face. Peaceful now, already falling back asleep against his father's shoulder. Someone tried to murder an 18-month-old baby tonight. They'll try again. Next time, I might not. Get lucky enough to have a nursing student with the right training in the right place. Maya looked at that sweet face, those chubby cheeks, those little hands clutching his father's shirt. She thought about how he'd looked 30 minutes ago. Blue and terrified and dying. She thought about her exam tomorrow, her shift at the bookstore, her plan to graduate next year and start her life. Then she thought about what would happen if she walked away and this baby died because she'd been too scared to stay. How long? However long it takes to find the traitor and eliminate the threat. And if I say no? Something flickered in his eyes. Then I'll pay your tuition anyway. I'll have someone drive you home, and I'll spend every moment from now until someone succeeds in killing my son wondering if I could have prevented it by being more persuasive. It was the honesty that got her. No threats, no intimidation, just a father desperate to save his child, asking for help from the only person he could trust. Maya was many things. Broke, exhausted, probably stupid for even considering this. But she wasn't someone who could walk away from a child in danger. Okay, she heard herself say. I'll stay. But I have conditions. Name them. I need to be able to keep up with my classes. Online where possible. I'll need my textbooks, my laptop. And I'm not doing anything illegal. I watch Nico. I keep him safe. That's it. Agreed. And you need to be honest with me. About the danger. About what we're dealing with. I can't protect him if I don't know what I'm protecting him from. Dominic held her gaze for a long moment, then nodded once. Fair enough. But understand this, Maya Rodriguez, the moment you agree to stay, the moment you walk out of this room as Nico's protector, you're in my world. You're under my protection. And my rules. You go nowhere without security. You tell no one about this arrangement. You trust no one except me. That sounds an awful lot like being a prisoner. That sounds like staying alive. He pulled something from his other pocket. A ring. The most stunning piece of jewelry Maya had ever seen. A massive diamond surrounded by smaller stones set in what looked like platinum. Old, clearly an antique. This was my grandmother's. In my family, we have traditions. When someone saves a Valentino's life, when someone becomes part of our protection, they wear this ring. It marks you as mine. As family. As untouchable. I'm not marrying you. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. The first human expression she'd seen. It's not a proposal, it's a promise. Wear this, and anyone in my world will know you're protected by me. Touch you, and they answer to me. Hurt you, and they die. Simple. Maya stared at the ring. It probably cost more than she'd make in her entire nursing career. People are going to think I'm your girlfriend. Or mistress. Or whatever. Let them think what they want. You'll know the truth. I'll know the truth. And more importantly, my enemies will know that hurting you means declaring war on me. He took her left hand before she could protest, slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, heavy and foreign and terrifying. Welcome to the Valentino family, Maya. Try not to die. The first rays of dawn crept through the massive windows of the penthouse, painting Chicago's skyline in shades of gold and pink. Maya sat in the nursery's rocking chair, Nico asleep in her arms, and tried to process the fact that her entire life had changed in less than 6 hours. The ring on her finger caught the morning light, throwing rainbow prisms across the wall. She twisted it nervously, the weight of it a constant reminder that she'd stepped into a world she didn't understand. A world where babies were targeted for murder, where emergency babysitting jobs were elaborate traps, where powerful men gave away family heirlooms to college students they'd just met. Her phone had been buzzing for the past hour. Texts from Jenna. Missed calls from the bookstore asking where she was for her shift. A notification from her bank that made her heart stop. A deposit of $3,200. He'd actually done it, paid her tuition like it was nothing. The nursery door opened. Dominic entered, changed from his suit into dark jeans and a black sweater that somehow made him look even more dangerous. Less businessman, more something else. Something that reminded Maya why her instincts had screamed to run the moment she saw him. "You didn't sleep," he observed. "Neither did you." "I had calls to make." He moved to the window, staring out at the city. "Elena is dead. They found her car in the Chicago River at 4 a.m. Single gunshot to the head." Maya's stomach dropped. "Oh God." "The 2 bodyguards who called in sick?" "Also dead. One in his apartment, one in his car outside a bar in Bridgeport. Professional hits, all within a 2-hour window." His voice was eerily calm, like he was discussing the weather instead of 3 murders. "Someone cleaned up loose ends. They killed their own people. They killed my people who'd been compromised, bribed, threatened, or blackmailed into leaving Nico vulnerable." He turned to face her. "Which means whoever is behind this has resources, connections, and absolutely no conscience." "Do you know who?" "I have suspicions. 3 rival families who would benefit from my son's death. 2 members of my own organization who've been positioning for power. And 1 person I don't want to consider but can't ignore." "Who?" "Nico's mother." Maya looked down at the sleeping child in her arms. "Where is she?" "Legally? Rehab facility in California. Actually? Unknown. She signed away her parental rights 18 months ago in exchange for a substantial settlement and a promise I wouldn't press charges for what she did while pregnant." His jaw tightened. "Cocaine, prescription pills, alcohol. Nico was born 2 months premature with withdrawal symptoms. Spent his first 3 months in NICU. I had the best lawyers in Chicago make sure she'd never come near him again. But she could want him back? Or want revenge for losing him? Or the settlement money ran out and she thinks killing Nico makes her my heir's mother again, gives her leverage." He crossed to where Maya sat, looked down at his son with an expression that made her chest ache. Raw love mixed with fierce protectiveness. "I don't know her mind anymore. I'm not sure I ever did." Nico stirred, his eyes fluttering open. When he saw his father, his whole face lit up. "Papa. Buongiorno, mio figlio." Dominic lifted him from Maya's arms with practiced ease. The gentleness in his large hands contrasted sharply with everything else about him. "Did you sleep well?" Up! Up!" Nico bounced with toddler enthusiasm. Apparently none the worse for his near-death experience. Children were resilient that way. Terrifying one moment, perfectly fine the next. "First we eat breakfast. Then up." Dominic glanced at Maya. "You should eat too. Kitchen is fully stocked. Make whatever you want." Maya followed them out of the nursery, her legs stiff from sitting in the rocking chair for hours. The morning light transformed the penthouse from intimidating to stunning. Everything was sleek lines and expensive materials. But there were signs of life, too. Nico's toys in a basket by the sofa, crayons on the coffee table, a child's drawing stuck to the massive stainless steel refrigerator with alphabet magnets. Dominic moved around the kitchen with surprising competence, preparing Nico's breakfast while the toddler sat in his high chair, babbling about Papa and Nana, and other words only he understood. Maya made coffee, needing the caffeine more than she'd needed anything in her life. "You have a pathophysiology exam today," Dominic said, not looking up from cutting strawberries into tiny pieces. "How did you—" "I had someone retrieve your textbook from the kitchen island. Saw the notes. About your exam." He placed the fruit on Nico's tray along with small pieces of toast. "You'll take it online. I've already contacted your professor. You're excused from campus attendance for the next 2 weeks due to a family emergency. You can't just, 'I can and I did.'" His tone left no room for argument. "Your professors have been informed you're dealing with a sick family member and will complete all coursework remotely. Your roommate thinks you're staying with your aunt in Milwaukee. The bookstore has been told you quit. As far as anyone knows, Maya Rodriguez is taking time off school to help family. Maya set down her coffee mug harder than intended. You can't just rearrange my entire life. I can when that life is now in danger. He finally looked at her, his dark eyes intense. The moment you put on that ring, the moment you became part of Nico's protection, you became a target. If my enemies don't know about you yet, they will soon. And they'll use you to get to him. So what? I'm just supposed to hide in this penthouse forever? Until the threat is eliminated? Yes, that's insane. That's reality. Dominic wiped Nico's face with a cloth, patient despite the toddler's squirming. You wanted honesty about the danger. Here it is. My world doesn't have safe spaces, Maya. It has fortresses and calculated risks. This penthouse is a fortress. Leaving it is a calculated risk I'm not willing to take with either you or my son. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Maya's phone buzzed again. Another text from Jenna. Girl, your aunt in Milwaukee? Really? What's really going on? She showed Dominic the text. People aren't stupid. They're going to ask questions. Let them ask. Don't answer. He lifted Nico from the high chair. Come, I'll show you the rest of your new reality. He led her. Through the penthouse, Nico balanced on his hip. The master suite took up half the second-floor massive bedroom with that same stunning view, a bathroom bigger than Maya's apartment, and a walk-in closet that looked like a boutique. This is my space. You don't enter unless invited or there's an emergency. Next door was Nico's nursery and a connected bedroom. This is yours. I've had your belongings brought from your apartment. Your textbooks, laptop, clothes. If anything is missing, tell Marco, and he'll get it. Who's Marco? Head of my security. You'll meet him shortly. Dominic pushed open the door to what would be Maya's room and she stopped breathing. It was twice the size of her bedroom at the apartment. King bed, with what looked like Egyptian cotton sheets. Another stunning view. A desk set up with dual monitors and a new laptop. Her textbook stacked neatly beside it. This is too much. This is necessary. He moved to the window, pointing down at the street 42 stories below. See that black SUV? And the one across the street? Those are my men. 24/7 surveillance. This building has 68 units. I own 52 of them. The remaining 16 are occupied by people I've thoroughly vetted. The doorman, the maintenance staff, the security guards, all on my payroll. This isn't just a building, Maya. It's a fortress. She joined him at the window. Nico, reaching for the glass with sticky strawberry hands. You're that paranoid? I'm that prepared. There's a difference. He caught his son's hands before they touched the spotless glass. No, Nico. Clean hands only. Down, down. Dominic set him down, and the toddler immediately took off running, his little legs carrying him toward his toy basket. Maya watched him go, a smile tugging at her lips despite everything. That innocent joy, that toddler enthusiasm, completely unaware of the danger surrounding him. He doesn't know, does he? How close he came. Children forget trauma faster than adults. By tomorrow, last night will be a vague nightmare. By next week, nothing at all. Dominic's expression darkened. But I'll remember. Every second of imagining I'd lost him. Every moment of terror when I got Marco's call that Elena had left and the guards were gone. The 45 minutes it took me to get back here, convinced I'd find him dead. Where were you? Last night? Meeting with the Giordano family. Northside territory dispute. A meeting that was scheduled 3 weeks ago, but last night suddenly became urgent. They insisted it couldn't wait. His hands clenched into fists. It was a distraction. Get me out of the penthouse so their people could make their move. So you think it was them? The Giordanos? I think someone wanted me to think it was them. The hits on Elena and the guards were too clean, too professional. That's not Giordano style. They're brutal, but they're sloppy. This was surgical. He pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. 2 men in suits, both with similar dark features. Carlo and Angelo Russo. Brothers. They run the South Side. They've been trying to move in on my territory for 2 years. They're patient, methodical, and they specialize in making their enemies' deaths look like accidents or someone else's work. Maya studied the photo. Both men looked like they could be bankers or lawyers. Nothing obviously criminal. And you think they're behind this? They're suspects, along with 2 others. He swiped to another photo. A woman, beautiful in a hard way, blonde hair and sharp cheekbones. Vanessa Kane, Nico's mother. Last known address was a rehab facility in Malibu, but she checked herself out 6 weeks ago. No one's seen her since. Would she really try to kill her own son? She was high enough during pregnancy to cause permanent damage to his development. Yes, I think she's capable of anything. He swiped again. 2 more men, one older with silver hair, one younger, maybe early 30s with cold eyes. Michael Torres, my second in command, and his son, David. Michael has been with me for 15 years. Loyal, competent, trustworthy. But David has ambitions, and if I were to die with no heir, Michael would be positioned to take over the organization. Maya's head spun. How do you live like this? Suspecting everyone? Trusting no one? Carefully. He pocketed his phone. But I trust you. You don't even know me. I know you saved my son's life when you had no reason to. I know you're smart enough to pursue nursing despite financial obstacles. I know you questioned a job that paid too much instead of just taking the money. And I know you're terrified right now, but you're still here because you care about what happens to Nico. His eyes held hers. That's enough. A knock at the door interrupted them. Dominic's hand moved to his waistband in a movement so fast Maya almost missed it. Gun, she realized. He was armed in his own home while playing with his toddler. Come. A man entered. Early 40s. Built like someone who knew his way around a fight, with a scar through his left eyebrow that gave him a perpetually skeptical expression. Boss. The team is ready for briefing. Marco, this is Maya Rodriguez. She's Nico's new primary caretaker and under my full protection. Marco's eyes moved to the ring on Maya's finger. Something shifted in his expression. Respect mixed with surprise. Ma'am, welcome to the family. It's not like that. The ring says otherwise. Marco's tone was matter-of-fact. Boss, the Giordanos are requesting a sit-down. They claim they had nothing to do with last night. They want to prove their good faith. Of course they do. Because either they're guilty and panicking, or they're innocent and offended, I suspect them. Dominic moved toward the door, then paused. Maya, stay with Nico. Don't leave this floor. Marco will station 2 guards outside. If anything feels wrong, you use the panic button. He pointed to a small device. Mounted near the door. Press it and 20 men will be here in under a minute. Where are you going? To meet with the Giordanos. And possibly start a war. He crossed back to her, took her hand, looked at the ring on her finger. Remember what this means. You're mine to protect now. Nothing happens to you. Nothing. Then he was gone, Marco following, leaving Maya alone with a toddler and the terrifying realization that she'd just become entangled in something far more dangerous than she'd imagined. She looked at Nico, who'd found a toy truck and was pushing it around the floor, making vroom-vroom sounds. So innocent, so vulnerable, so completely dependent on the adults around him to keep him safe. Maya's hands were shaking. She sat down on the floor beside him, picked up another truck. What color is your truck, Nico? Blue. He held it up proudly. That's right, blue. Very good. She kept her voice light, normal, even as her mind raced with everything she'd just learned. Rival families. Suspected betrayals. A mother who might want her own child dead. Guards stationed outside the door. Panic buttons. A ring that marked her as property, protection, or both. What had she gotten herself into? Nico crashed his truck into hers, giggling with delight. And despite everything, despite the fear coiling in her stomach, Maya smiled. Because this was why she was here. Not for the money, though that helped. Not for the adventure, though this was certainly that. But for this little boy, who deserved to grow up safe, loved, and unaware that people wanted him dead. She'd keep him safe. Whatever it took. Even if it meant living in a gilded cage with a mafia boss and pretending a ring meant she belonged in his world. The hours passed slowly. Maya studied for her exam while Nico played. She made him lunch, changed his diaper, put him down for his nap. Normal parenting tasks that felt surreal given the circumstances. At 2 p.m., there was a soft knock on the door. Maya tensed. But one of the guards called through. Miss Rodriguez, there's a delivery for you. She opened the door to find 3 large garment bags and several shopping bags with designer labels. The guard, a man in his 30s with kind eyes despite his obvious military bearing, handed her a note. You'll need appropriate clothing for your new position. These should fit. If they don't, call this number and someone will handle adjustments. Maya opened one garment bag to find dresses that probably cost more than her car. Silk, cashmere, designer labels she'd only seen in magazines. Another bag held casual clothes, jeans and sweaters that were soft as butter and clearly expensive. A third had what looked like evening wear, the kind of clothes you wore to galas and charity events. "I don't need any of this," she told the guard. "Boss says you do, ma'am. You're part of the family now. You need to look the part." She wanted to argue, but the guard was just following orders. She brought everything inside, hung it in her new closet, and tried not to feel like a doll being dressed for some role she didn't audition for. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "How's your first day, Dominic?" Maya stared at it for a moment, then typed back. "Nico's napping. I'm studying. Your credit card must be smoking from all the shopping you did for me." 3 dots appeared. Then, "It's not my credit card that's smoking. It's the Giordano's. Meeting did not go well. Stay alert." Her stomach dropped. "Are you okay? Define okay? No one's dead yet. That counts as a win in my world. That's a terrible way to measure success. Welcome to my life. Make sure Nico eats dinner by 6. He gets cranky if he's hungry. And Maya, thank you. For staying, for caring. It means more than you know." Maya set down her phone, her chest tight. She'd expected a monster, a criminal, someone cold and brutal and impossible to relate to. But Dominic was none of those things. Or rather, he was all of those things, but also a father who loved his son fiercely, who said "Buongiorno mio figlio" with tenderness, who made sure his toddler ate strawberries and got cranky when hungry. It would be easier if he was just a monster. Easier to keep her distance. Easier to remember this was temporary. A job. Nothing more. But the man who'd slipped his grandmother's ring on her finger and told her she was his to protect? That man was complicated. Dangerous. Yes. But also something else. Something that made Maya's carefully planned life feel very far away. And her future suddenly, terrifyingly uncertain. 3 days passed in a strange routine. Maya woke with Nico, fed him breakfast, played educational games she found online, read him stories. She studied between his naps, took her exams remotely, maintained the fiction that she was in Milwaukee helping family. Dominic came and went at odd hours, always checking on his son first, always asking Maya if she needed anything. The ring never left her finger. She'd tried taking it off the first night, but it felt wrong somehow, like breaking a promise she'd made. So she kept it on, twisting it when she was nervous, which was constantly. On the 4th morning, Maya woke at 3 a.m. to sounds from the penthouse's main level. Not alarming sounds, just movement. She pulled on a robe over her pajamas and crept out of her room. Nico was sleeping peacefully, his monitor showing his steady breathing. She found Dominic in the kitchen, barefoot in dress pants and an unbuttoned white shirt, making coffee. His knuckles were split and bruised, blood stained his collar. He looked exhausted. "You're hurt," Maya said before thinking. He glanced at his hands like he'd forgotten about them. Hazard of the job. "Let me see." Her nursing training overrode her caution. She crossed to him, took his hand in hers, examined the damage. "These need cleaning. You could get infected. I've survived worse." "That's not the point." She pulled him to the sink, ran, warm water, began gently washing the blood away. His hands were huge in hers, scarred from old injuries, calloused from violence. But they were also the hands that held his son with infinite gentleness, that cut strawberries into tiny pieces, that had slipped a ring onto her finger and promised protection. "You don't have to do this," Dominic said quietly. "Yes, I do. It's who I am." Maya found the first aid kit under the sink, started applying antibiotic ointment. "What happened?" The Russo brothers sent a message. "I sent one back. With your fists? Among other things. You're gentle. You're hurt. Gentle is appropriate." She bandaged the worst of the splits. "These should heal fine if you keep them clean. Try not to punch anyone for a few days. I'll add it to my to-do list." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Right after, trust no one, and assume everyone wants me dead." Maya finished with his hands, but didn't step away. "Can I ask you something?" "You can ask. I might not answer." "Why this life? You're clearly intelligent. You could have been anything. Doctor, lawyer, businessman. Why choose this?" "I didn't choose it. It chose me." Dominic poured 2 cups of coffee, handed her one. My father was Valentino. My grandfather was Valentino. This is what we are. What we've always been. When I was Nico's age, my father was teaching me that blood is thicker than law. That family protects family. That power is the only thing that matters. That's a terrible thing to teach a child. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. That's reality in my world. He leaned against the counter, exhaustion showing in the lines around his eyes. I tried to leave once, when I was 22. Met Vanessa at university. She was pre-med, brilliant, beautiful. Everything my world wasn't. I thought I could be normal. Build a normal life. What happened? My father died. Rival family saw it as weakness, made a move on our territory. They killed 8 of my men. Would have killed my mother and sister if I hadn't come back. His voice went flat, emotionless. I eliminated the threat, took over the family business, married Vanessa because she was pregnant, and I still believed in doing the right thing. Built an empire on the foundation of blood my father left me. And Vanessa? Hated every second of it, hated me for bringing her into this world. Started using to cope with the reality of who she'd married. He stared into his coffee. I tried to help her. Rehab, therapy, everything. But she didn't want help. She wanted escape. And when Nico was born premature, withdrawing from the drugs she'd taken while pregnant, something in me broke. Maya's chest ached. Dominic. I gave her a choice. Sign away her rights, take the settlement, disappear. Or I'd make sure she went to prison for child endangerment. She took the money and ran. He finally looked at Maya. So no, I didn't choose this life. But I'm damn good at it. And everything I do, every choice I make, is about making sure Nico has options I never had. That he can choose his path instead of inheriting mine. That's why you're so protective. That's why I'd burn this entire city to the ground before I let anyone hurt him. The intensity in his voice made her shiver. He's everything good about me. Everything that isn't stained by this life. And if keeping him safe means I never sleep again, never trust anyone again, never let my guard down for a second, then that's what I'll do. They stood in silence. 2 people from completely different worlds, connected by a sleeping toddler and a promise of protection. Maya wanted to say something comforting, something that would ease the weight she saw in his eyes. But what comfort could she offer? She was a nursing student, playing bodyguard to a Mafia heir. She was so far out of her depth she couldn't even see the shore anymore. Why do you want to be a nurse? Dominic asked suddenly. My mother died when I was 16. Cancer. We couldn't afford the best treatment, the best doctors. She suffered at the end because the hospital wouldn't give her enough pain medication, said she didn't qualify for hospice yet. Maya's throat tightened with the memory. I watched her die in pain, and I swore I'd never let anyone suffer like that if I could help it. That I'd be the person who actually cared, who actually listened, who actually did something. That's why you jumped into action with Nico. You've trained for moments like that. I've prepared my whole adult life to be useful when it matters. She met his eyes. Your world might run on power and blood, but mine runs on saving people, on making suffering bearable, on being there when everything falls apart. Then we're not so different. Dominic set down his coffee, moved closer. Not threateningly, but deliberately. I protect what's mine. You heal what's broken. Both of us standing between innocent people and the cruelty of the world. I'm not part of your world. You're wearing my grandmother's ring. You're living in my home. You're protecting my son. You're absolutely part of my world now, Maya. The question is whether you can accept that. She looked down at the ring, heavy on her finger. I don't know if I can. Then figure it out. Because Nico is getting attached to you. He asks for Maya when he wakes up. He wants you to read him stories. He trusts you. Dominic's voice dropped lower. And so do I. Before Maya could respond. Before she could process what that meant. A sound from the nursery monitor made them both freeze. Nico, crying. Not the normal fussy cry of a toddler waking from a dream. The terrified, desperate cry of a child in real distress. They moved as one. Dominic, reaching the nursery door first, throwing it open. Maya was right behind him, her heart in her throat. Nico stood in his crib, screaming, his small body rigid with fear. But he wasn't hurt. He was pointing at the window. Maya followed his gaze and her blood turned to ice. Someone had written on the outside of the window. 42 stories up, written in something dark that looked like blood in the pre-dawn light. "He's next." Dominic had his gun out in a heartbeat, his body between Nico and the window. "Marco, code red, now!" The penthouse exploded with activity. Guards poured in from every entrance. Marco appeared in seconds, weapon drawn, already barking orders into his radio. "Secure the perimeter. I want every camera checked. Someone got to that window. Find out how." Maya grabbed Nico from his crib, held him tight against her chest. His little arms wrapped around her neck, his crying muffled against her shoulder. "Shh, baby. It's okay. You're safe. I've got you." Dominic crossed to the window, studied it with cold fury. Rope access from the roof, professional equipment. They knew exactly which window was his. He turned to Marco. "How did they get past rooftop security?" "I don't know, boss, but I'll find out." "They're escalating," Dominic said, his voice dangerously calm. "The first attempt failed, so now they're sending messages, showing me they can reach him, that nowhere is safe." Maya rocked Nico, trying to calm his trembling. The toddler's face was buried in her neck, his tears soaking her robe. "We need to move," she said. "If they know this room, if they can access this window, we're not running." Dominic's eyes were black with rage. "We're done reacting. It's time to take the fight to them. You can't start a war with your son in the crossfire. I'm already in a war." They brought it to my doorstep. He moved to where Maya stood, placed one hand on his son's back. "Nico, Piccolo, look at Papa." The toddler lifted his tear-stained face. "Scared, Papa. Scary window." "I know, baby, but you're safe. See? Maya has you, and Papa's here. Nothing bad will happen." His voice gentled in a way that made Maya's chest ache. This violent, dangerous man transforming into someone soft for his terrified child. "You want to sleep in Papa's big bed tonight? With Maya?" Nico nodded, hiccuping. "And Fant? And Elephant?" "Of course." Dominic grabbed the stuffed animal, led them to his master suite, the room Maya had been told never to enter unless invited. Now she was being invited because someone had threatened a toddler with a message written in blood. The bed was enormous, the sheets probably more expensive than her entire wardrobe used to be. Dominic pulled back the covers, helped Maya settle in with Nico between them. The toddler clutched his elephant, his small body finally relaxing now that both his father and Maya were there. "Stay," Dominic said to Maya. Not a command, a plea, until he falls asleep. She nodded, lying on her side facing Nico, one hand stroking his dark curls. Dominic mirrored her position on the other side, his large hand resting on his son's back. Their eyes met over the child between them. "I won't let them hurt him," Dominic said quietly. "Neither will I." "I know." Something shifted in his expression. Gratitude mixed with something deeper. "That's why you're here. That's why I trust you." Nico's breathing gradually steadied, his little body going limp with sleep. But neither Maya nor Dominic moved. They lay there in the pre-dawn darkness, protecting this small life between them, two strangers bound by circumstance and a promise neither would break. "Tell me about nursing school," Dominic said after a while, his voice barely a whisper. "Tell me about the normal world, the one where people don't write death threats in blood on windows." So Maya did. She told him about her classes, her clinical rotations, the elderly patient who'd held her hand and thanked her for listening, the teenage car accident victim she'd helped stabilize, the small victories and devastating losses that came with choosing to care for people at their most vulnerable. And Dominic listened, his dark eyes never leaving her face, as if her stories were a lifeline to something he'd lost long ago, something normal and human and good. When dawn finally broke for real, painting the room in shades of gold, Nico still slept peacefully between them, safe for now, protected by a Mafia boss and a nursing student who'd stumbled into his world by accident. But as Maya watched the sun rise through the bulletproof windows, she knew with absolute certainty that everything was about to get worse. The enemy had shown their hand, and now Dominic would show his. God help anyone who stood in his way. The war room was exactly what Maya expected, and nothing like she imagined. Located in a sub-basement she hadn't known existed, accessible only through a private elevator that required fingerprint and retinal scans. The space was all concrete and technology. Massive screens showing surveillance feeds from across the city, tables covered with maps and documents, and a dozen men who looked like they could kill without breaking a sweat. Maya stood near the back. Nico balanced on her hip. Dominic had insisted she attend this meeting. "You're part of his protection now," he'd said. You need to know what we're dealing with." Nico played with a small toy car, oblivious to the danger being discussed. Maya had dressed him in soft pajamas and brought his favorite blanket, trying to maintain some normalcy despite the fact that they were currently in an underground fortress planning a counterattack against people who wanted him dead. Marco stood at the head of the table, pointing to surveillance photos projected on the screen. The rope access equipment was high-end, military-grade, same type used by special forces for building infiltration. We pulled footage from neighboring buildings. 3 men, dressed as window washers, accessed the roof at 0200 hours. They knew exactly where to go. Inside. "Information," Dominic said coldly. He sat at the head of the table, looking every inch the dangerous boss. Someone told them which window was Nico's. Someone gave them the security schedules. Someone wanted to send that message. "The Russo brothers are denying involvement," another man said. Maya didn't know his name, but his suit probably cost more than a semester of her tuition. "They're claiming it's a setup. Someone trying to start a war between our families. Convenient." Dominic's tone made it clear he wasn't buying it. "What about Vanessa?" Marco pulled up a new image. The blonde woman from before, but this photo was recent. She looked thinner, harder. "We found her. She's been staying at a hotel in River North for the past 2 weeks, under an assumed name, but one of our contacts at the hotel recognized her." 2 weeks. Dominic's jaw clenched. "She's been in Chicago for 2 weeks, and no one thought to tell me? We only found out this morning, boss. She's been careful. No credit cards, cash only, minimal surveillance footprint. Is she working alone or does she have help? Unknown. But she's met with at least 3 individuals over the past week. We're running facial recognition now." Maya shifted Nico to her other hip, trying to keep him entertained with the toy car while absorbing this information. The baby's mother was in Chicago. Had been here when someone tried to kill him. That couldn't be coincidence. "Bring her in," Dominic said. "I want to talk to her." "Boss, if we grab her off the street." "I don't care. She signed away her rights to him. She has no legal standing. And if she's involved in trying to hurt my son, she has no rights at all." His voice went dangerously quiet. "Bring her to me, today." The room fell silent. Marco nodded once. "Consider it done." "What about the message?" Another man spoke up. "What was it written in?" "Paint," Marco said. "Red paint mixed with something to make it look like blood in low light. Theatrical, meant to terrify." "It worked," Maya said before she could stop herself. Every eye in the room turned to her. She straightened her spine, refused to be intimidated. Nico was terrified. That was the point, wasn't it? Not just to threaten, but to traumatize. To make him afraid in his own home. Dominic's expression softened slightly when he looked at her. Yes, that was the point. Then they miscalculated. Maya met his eyes. "Because now you're not just protecting him, you're hunting them." A slow, cold smile crossed Dominic's face. "Exactly." The meeting continued for another hour. Maya learned more about Chicago's criminal underworld in those 60 minutes than she'd ever wanted to know. Territory disputes, money laundering operations, political corruption, violence that was discussed with the same casualness other people used to talk about the weather. This was Dominic's world. This was the reality Nico would grow up in unless something changed. Unless someone broke the cycle. When the meeting finally ended, Dominic approached her. "Marco will take you and Nico back upstairs. I have something I need to handle. The Russo brothers, among others." He reached out, touched Nico's cheek gently. The toddler looked up from his toy, smiled at his father. "Papa? Play?" "Soon, Piccolo. Papa has work first." He kissed his son's forehead, then looked at Maya. "Keep him safe. Always." The word came out automatically, but she meant it with everything in her. Something flickered in Dominic's eyes. He took her hand, the one wearing his grandmother's ring, and raised it to his lips. The gesture was old-fashioned, almost courtly. It made her breath catch. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for everything." Then he was gone, Marco leading her and Nico back to the elevator. The ride up was silent except for Nico's babbling. Marco stood like a statue, his expression unreadable. "He cares about you," Marco said suddenly as they reached the penthouse level. Maya blinked. "What?" "The boss. He cares about you. I've worked for him for 8 years. Never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. He's grateful I saved Nico." That's all. If you say so, ma'am. Marco's tone suggested he absolutely did not believe that. But that ring you're wearing? His grandmother was the only woman his grandfather ever loved. He was a hard man, Dominic's grandfather, brutal. But with her, he was different, gentle. That ring represents more than protection. It represents the possibility of being something other than what the world expects us to be. The elevator doors opened. Maya stepped out, her mind reeling. Marco. Just something to think about, ma'am. The boss needs people in his life who see him as more than what he does. Who see who he could be instead of just what he is. Marco nodded once. Have a good day. The doors closed, leaving Maya alone with Nico and thoughts that made her chest feel too tight. She set the toddler down, watched him toddle toward his toys. So innocent, so unaware of the violence being planned in his name. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jenna. Okay, seriously. You've been MIA for almost a week. I'm starting to worry. Call me? Maya stared at the message. Her old life felt like a dream now. Classes and textbooks and worrying about rent? Simple problems. Normal problems. How could she go back to that after this? After seeing how Dominic looked at his son? After feeling the weight of protection, the responsibility of keeping someone safe? After wearing a ring that meant something more complicated than she'd realized? She typed back, I'm fine. Just dealing with family stuff. I'll call soon, I promise. It was a lie, but the truth. I'm living with a mafia boss and protecting his son from people who want him dead, and I might be falling for a man who terrifies me and makes me feel safe at the same time. Wasn't exactly something she could text. Nico brought her a book. Story, Maya, please? She smiled, despite everything, pulled him onto her lap on the couch. Of course, sweetheart. What story do you want? Fant. He handed her a worn book about a brave little elephant. Maya read to him, her voice steady, doing what she did best. Caring for someone who needed her. Being present in the moment. Making a child feel safe and loved. But in the back of her mind, she couldn't stop thinking about what Marco had said. About the ring. About what Dominic might feel. About the way he'd kissed her hand like she was precious, instead of just convenient. About the terrifying possibility that she was starting to care about a man whose world was built on violence, whose enemies would use her to hurt him, whose life expectancy was probably measured in years rather than decades. A man who made her feel things she had no business feeling. Hours later, after she'd put Nico down for his nap, Maya stood at the massive windows overlooking Chicago. The city stretched out below her, sparkling in the afternoon sun. Somewhere down there, Dominic was doing whatever dangerous thing needed doing, confronting enemies, making threats, possibly ending lives. And she was here, in this golden cage, wearing his grandmother's ring and realizing with growing horror that she didn't want to leave, that the idea of going back to her old life felt wrong now, incomplete, that she'd been in Dominic Valentino's world for less than a week, and somehow, impossibly, she was starting to belong to it. Her phone rang, unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her press accept. Hello? Silence, then heavy breathing, then a woman's voice, slurred and hostile. Who are you? Maya's stomach dropped. Who is this? You're living in my house, wearing his ring, taking care of my son. The voice sharpened with accusation. I asked you a question. Who the hell are you? Vanessa? Answer me. Maya's training kicked in. Keep her talking. Keep her calm. Get information. My name is Maya. I'm Nico's nanny. Nannies don't wear family rings. Vanessa laughed, bitter and broken. God, he replaced me fast. How long did it take? A week? A month? Is the bed still warm from me? Or did he change the sheets first? It's not like that. Don't lie to me. I see you on his security feeds, playing with Nico, making breakfast, reading bedtime stories. You're living my life, the life I was supposed to have. You gave up that life, Maya said quietly. You signed away your rights. He forced me. He threatened me. Vanessa's voice broke. I was sick. I needed help. Instead, he gave me money and took my baby, and now some random girl is playing mommy to my son. Vanessa, where are you? Let me help you. I don't need your help. I need my son back. I need Dominic to see he made a mistake, that I can be good now, that I deserve another chance. The desperation in her voice was painful. Tell him I'm clean. Tell him I've changed. Tell him I just want to see Nico. 5 minutes. That's all I need. Vanessa, tell him. She was crying now. Tell him or I'll make him listen. I'll make everyone listen. The line went dead. Maya's hands were shaking. She immediately called the number back. It went straight to voicemail. She tried Marco's number. It rang once before he picked up. Miss Rodriguez? Vanessa just called me. She's watching the security feed somehow. She wants to see Nico. She's Marco. She sounded desperate, unstable. Where are you right now? The penthouse. Nico's napping. Stay there. I'm sending additional security. Don't go near the windows. Don't answer the door for anyone except the boss or me. Understood? Understood. Maya ended the call and immediately went to Nico's room. He was still sleeping, peaceful and safe. She wanted to wake him, to hold him, to make sure he was real and okay. But she forced herself to let him sleep, forced herself to breathe through the panic. Vanessa was watching them. Somehow she had access to the security system. She could see everything happening in this penthouse, every moment of Maya caring for her son, every interaction with Dominic, and she was falling apart, which made her either the victim in all this, a mother desperate to reunite with her child, or the most dangerous threat they faced, a woman with nothing left to lose and everything to gain from Nico's death. If Nico died, Vanessa would still be Dominic's only connection to a child. If Nico died, Vanessa might believe Dominic would need her again, might take her back out of shared grief. It was twisted logic, but addiction and desperation made people think in twisted ways. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from Dominic. Marco told me about the call. I'm coming home. Don't be afraid. But she was afraid. For Nico, for Dominic, and increasingly for herself. Because Vanessa was right about one thing. Maya was living a life that should have belonged to someone else. Wearing a ring that meant something profound. Caring for a child who wasn't hers. Falling for a man who was absolutely, completely, impossibly wrong for her. And there was no going back now. No pretending this was temporary. No protecting her heart from the inevitable crash. She was in too deep. And the water was about to get a whole lot rougher. Dominic arrived 30 minutes later with an intensity that made the air feel electric. He went straight to Nico's room, stood in the doorway watching his son sleep, then turned to Maya with an expression she couldn't quite read. Relief mixed with something darker. Show me the call log. Maya handed him her phone. He studied it, his jaw tightening. She used a burner. Untraceable. He looked up. What exactly did she say? Maya recounted the conversation word for word, her nursing training making her good at remembering details. When she finished, Dominic was silent for a long moment. She has access to our security feeds, he finally said, which means someone gave it to her. Someone in my organization is feeding her information. The same person who helped with the window message? Possibly. He handed back her phone. Marco's running a complete security audit. Everyone gets vetted again. Anyone with even a hint of disloyalty gets cut loose. And if it's someone you trust, someone close to you, then they die. His voice was flat, matter of fact. I don't have the luxury of mercy, Maya. Not when my son's life is at stake. She wanted to argue, wanted to say there had to be another way. But looking at his face, at the cold determination there, she knew he meant every word. This was who he was. This was the world she'd entered. Vanessa thinks I've replaced her, Maya said quietly. That I'm living her life, wearing her ring. This was never her ring. My grandmother gave this to me before she died, told me to give it to someone worthy. Vanessa was never worthy. He stepped closer, took Maya's hand, looked at the ring on her finger. But you are. Dominic, you saved my son's life. You've stayed when any rational person would run. You care about Nico not because of what I can give you, but because that's who you are. You're exactly who my grandmother meant when she gave me this ring. I'm not special. You're extraordinary. You just don't see it yet. His thumb traced the ring on her finger. And you're mine now. Whether you accept it or not, whether you understand what that means or not, you're mine to protect, mine to provide for, mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have terrified her. Instead, it made something warm unfurl in her chest, something dangerous and intoxicating. I'm not property. No, you're family. There's a difference. He raised her hand to his lips again, that same courtly gesture that made her breath catch. Family is everything in my world, Maya. It's the only thing that matters. And you're family now." A sound from the nursery made them both turn. Nico, awake and calling for them. "Papa, Maya." Dominic released her hand, went to get his son. Maya watched him lift the toddler, watched Nico's face light up, watched this dangerous man transform into someone gentle. And her heart did something complicated and terrifying. She was falling for him. Actually, truly falling for a mafia boss who killed people and threatened rivals, and lived a life completely incompatible with everything she'd planned for herself. The realization should have sent her running. Instead, it rooted her to the spot. That evening, after dinner and bath time and 2 stories about brave little elephants, Maya tucked Nico into his crib. The window had been replaced with bulletproof glass that was somehow even clearer than before. New security measures had been installed throughout the penthouse. 6 guards now rotated shifts outside the nursery door. The fortress had become even more fortified. Maya was heading to her room when she heard voices from Dominic's office. The door was cracked open, light spilling into the hallway. She knew she shouldn't eavesdrop. Knew it was wrong. But the tension in the voices made her pause. "Can't keep her here indefinitely. That was Marco. She has a life, school, friends. You can't just lock her away. I can and I will. Until the threat is neutralized." Dominic's voice was hard. "She's safer here." Is she? Or is she just another target now? Another weakness for your enemies to exploit? She wears my grandmother's ring, Marco. That makes her untouchable. That makes her a symbol. And symbols get destroyed to send messages. Marco's voice dropped. "Boss, I'm saying this as someone who cares about both of you. You're getting attached. So is she. And when this is over, when the threat is gone, what then? She goes back to her normal life? You think she can just forget all this? She's not going anywhere. You can't force her to stay. I'm not forcing anything. She'll stay because she wants to. Because Nico needs her. Because..." Dominic stopped himself. "Because you need her." Marco finished quietly. "I know. I see it. The whole organization sees it. The way you look at her. The way you've changed since she arrived. You smile now, boss. Actual smiles. When's the last time that happened? This isn't about me. It's entirely about you. And about what you're willing to risk for her," Marco sighed. "Just be careful. The Russo brothers already suspect she means something to you. If they confirm it, then they die before they can act on that information. And if it's not the Russos, if it's Vanessa, if it's someone inside we haven't identified yet, you can't kill everyone, boss. Watch me." Maya backed away from the door, her heart pounding. She made it to her room, closed the door, leaned against it. Marco was right. She had become a target just by being here, by wearing this ring, by caring about Nico and, God help her, starting to care about Dominic. She looked at the ring on her finger. In the lamplight, it sparkled like captured stars, beautiful and expensive and terrifying, a symbol of protection that made her a target, a promise of belonging that trapped her in a world of violence. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You think you're safe in your tower, little nurse? You think his ring protects you? Nothing protects you from me. I'm his past. You're just a temporary distraction. And distractions get eliminated." Maya's blood ran cold. She screenshot the message, sent it immediately to Marco and Dominic. Within seconds, her door burst open. Dominic stood there, phone in hand, fury radiating from him like heat. "Pack a bag. We're moving to the safe house." "What?" "No. If we run, we're not running. We're repositioning." He crossed to her closet, started pulling clothes out. "Vanessa knows this location. She's probably known it the entire time. The safe house is off the grid. No one knows about it except Marco and me. Dominic, if we leave, if we hide, doesn't that give her power? If we stay, she might find a way to get to you or Nico. I'm not risking that." He turned to her, his dark eyes intense. "I told you from the beginning. You're mine to protect. That means I get to decide what's safe." "That's not fair." "Nothing about this is fair, Maya. Fair would be you finishing nursing school and living a normal life. Fair would be my son growing up without death threats. Fair would be me meeting you under completely different circumstances where I could actually court you properly instead of dragging you into a war zone." He stopped, seemed to realize what he'd just said. The air between them crackled with tension. "Court me?" Maya's voice came out barely a whisper. Dominic set down the clothes, moved to stand directly in front of her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, expensive and masculine, close enough to see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. If circumstances were different, if I were different, if my world wasn't built on blood and violence, yes, I would court you properly, take you to dinner, make you laugh, show you that I'm more than just a criminal. You're Nico's father first. That's what I see. That's who you are when it matters. And what else do you see? His voice dropped lower, intimate in a way that made her shiver. Maya shouldn't answer honestly, shouldn't reveal what she was feeling, but his intensity, his proximity, the fear of the last few hours, it all stripped away her defenses. I see someone who carries impossible weight, who makes terrible choices for good reasons, who's more alone than anyone should be, who terrifies me and makes me feel safer than I've ever felt at the same time. Maya. Her name on his lips sounded like a prayer. I see someone I shouldn't want but do anyway. Someone completely wrong for me who somehow feels exactly right. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. And I see someone who's going to break my heart because this can't work. Because I'm temporary and your world is permanent, and eventually reality will crash down and... He kissed her. Not gentle, not tentative. Dominic kissed her like a man who'd been holding back for too long, his hands framing her face, his lips claiming hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. Maya gasped against his mouth and he took advantage, deepening the kiss, pulling her closer until no space existed between them. She should stop this, should push him away, should remember all the reasons this was a catastrophically bad idea. Instead, she kissed him back, her hands fisted in his shirt, holding him close, matching his intensity with her own. Because he was right. Circumstances were awful. His world was dangerous. This couldn't last. But right now, in this moment, she wanted him with a ferocity that shocked her. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dominic rested his forehead against hers. I know this is crazy. I know I have no right to want you, to need you. But I do, and I'm not a man who denies himself what he wants. This is a terrible idea. The worst, he agreed. But I'm done pretending otherwise. Done pretending you're just Nico's nanny. Done pretending that ring on your finger is only about protection. What are you saying? I'm saying you're mine, Maya Rodriguez. Not as property, not as an employee, but as the woman I want in my life, in my son's life, in my bed if you'll have me. And I don't give a damn that it's too fast or too complicated or too dangerous. I've lived my entire life making calculated decisions. This is the first time I'm choosing what I want instead of what makes strategic sense. Maya's head spun. Dominic, we can't. Yes, we can. We are. He kissed her again, softer this time, almost tender. But first, I need to keep you safe. So we're going to the safe house. We're going to eliminate the threats. And then we're going to figure out what the hell this is between us. Before Maya could respond, could process any of what just happened. Marco appeared in the doorway. His expression was grim. Boss, we've got a problem. Dominic immediately shifted, protective instincts taking over. What kind of problem? Vanessa's hotel room was raided by our team 10 minutes ago. She wasn't there, but they found something. Marco held up his phone, showing a photo. Maya's stomach dropped. It was a map of the penthouse, with Nico's room circled in red, and Maya's room circled in black, written across the bottom in angry handwriting, take everything he loves, make him suffer like I suffered. She's not trying to get Nico back, Maya whispered. She's trying to kill him. And you, Dominic added, his voice cold as death. She sees you as competition, as the woman who took her place, so she wants both of you gone. Where is she now? Marco asked what they were all thinking. I don't know. But she's coming here. Tonight, probably. And she's not coming alone. Dominic pulled out his phone, started typing rapid-fire messages. Call in everyone. Lock down the building. I want eyes on every entrance, every window, every air duct. If a fly gets in here without authorization, I want to know about it. Boss, if she's working with the Russos, then this turns into a war. Fine. I've been avoiding that. Being diplomatic. Trying to handle this quietly. Dominic's expression went dark, dangerous. I'm done being quiet. Whoever comes for my family dies. Simple as that. Maya should be horrified, should be appalled by the casual way he talked about killing. Instead, She felt something twist in her chest. Gratitude. Relief. This man would burn the world down to protect his son. To protect her. And God help her, she found that attractive. "Get Nico," Dominic said to her. "Dress him warm. We leave in 10 minutes. Maya moved on autopilot, going to the nursery, gently waking the confused toddler. "Hey, sweetheart. We're going on an adventure." "Venture?" Nico rubbed his eyes, sleepily. "That's right. With Papa and Maya. Won't that be fun?" She dressed him quickly, grabbed his favorite toys, his elephant, the essentials. All while her mind raced. This was really happening. They were running. Or not running. Repositioning, as Dominic called it. Hiding from a woman who'd given birth to this sweet child and now wanted him dead. From criminals who saw a toddler as a strategic target. From a world Maya had never imagined existed until a week ago. When she returned to the living room, Dominic had changed into all black. He looked like death incarnate, dangerous and lethal and absolutely in control. He took Nico from her arms, held his son close. "Ready?" "No," Maya said honestly. "But let's go anyway." They took the private elevator to the garage. 3 SUVs waited, all black, all with tinted windows. Marco held open the door to the middle vehicle, reinforced, bulletproof, a fortress on wheels. Dominic secured Nico in a car seat. Apparently even Mafia bosses used proper child safety equipment, then guided Maya into the seat beside his son. He took the front passenger seat. Marco drove. 2 other guards Maya didn't know filled the remaining seats. The garage door opened. They pulled out into Chicago's night, the other 2 SUVs flanking them. Protection or prison? Maya couldn't quite tell anymore. "Where's the safe house?" she asked. 2 hours north, middle of nowhere. Secure. Dominic glanced back at her. "It'll be fine, I promise." But promises meant nothing in his world. Maya had learned that much. In his world, the only thing that mattered was power, and the willingness to use violence to protect what was yours. And she was his now, for better or worse. The question was whether she'd survive long enough to figure out if that was a blessing or a curse. The safe house was nothing like the penthouse, where Dominic's home was all glass and luxury and city views. This was stone and wood and isolation. A compound, really, set on 50 acres of forest, high walls, surveillance cameras, armed guards patrolling the perimeter. A fortress, just like he'd promised. Maya carried a sleeping Nico inside. The interior was surprisingly warm. Someone had prepared it for their arrival. Fires burned in 2 fireplaces. Lights were on. Food stocked the kitchen. Bedrooms ready upstairs. "Master suite is yours," Marco told Maya, connected to the nursery. "Boss will take the room across the hall. Guards are stationed at every entrance. You're safe here." But Maya didn't feel safe. She felt like prey waiting for predators to attack, because Vanessa was out there somewhere, with unknown allies, with a plan to destroy everything Dominic loved. And Maya was now firmly on that list. She got Nico settled in his crib, the familiar stuffed elephant tucked beside him. The little boy barely stirred, exhausted from the late-night journey. Maya stood watching him sleep, her hand unconsciously moving to the ring on her finger. How had this become her life? A week ago, she'd been a struggling nursing student. Now she was living in a safe house, wearing a family heirloom, protecting a Mafia heir, and falling for a man who represented everything she should run from. "He's peaceful when he sleeps." Dominic's voice came from the doorway. Maya turned. He'd removed the black tactical gear, now wearing jeans and a dark Henley. Still dangerous, but more human somehow. He doesn't know how much danger he's in. Maybe that's a blessing. Innocence is always a blessing. Dominic moved into the room, stood beside her. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For dragging you into this. For putting that ring on your finger and making you a target. For kissing you when I should have kept my distance." He looked down at her. "For falling for you when I have no right to." Maya's heart stuttered. "You're falling for me?" "I fell the moment you charged into my son's room and saved his life. Every moment since has just made it worse." His hand came up, cupped her cheek. "You're brilliant and brave and completely wrong for my world. But I want you anyway. Need you anyway. And I'm selfish enough to keep you even knowing how dangerous that is. Dominic." Her phone buzzed. Then his. Then Marco's from somewhere downstairs, all at once. Maya pulled hers out with shaking hands. A video message. From an unknown number. She pressed play. Vanessa's face filled the screen. She looked wild, eyes too bright. makeup smeared, hair uncombed. Hello, Dominic. Hello, little replacement girlfriend. Surprise. Did you really think running would keep you safe? I know where you are. I've always known. Because I'm not working alone. I'm working with people who want you dead almost as much as I do. People who gave me money and resources and patience while we planned this perfectly. The camera panned. Maya's blood turned to ice. They were outside the safe house. In the trees. Multiple figures in dark clothing. Armed. Professional. You took my son. Vanessa continued, her voice cracking. You took my life. You replaced me like I was nothing. So now I'm taking everything from you. Your son. Your new little family. Your empire. All of it. Because you deserve to suffer the way you made me suffer. The video ended. Dominic was already moving, weapon drawn, barking orders into his phone. Marco, code black. They're here. Defensive positions now. The compound exploded with activity. Alarms blared. Guards rushed to positions. Maya's nursing training kicked in. She grabbed Nico from his crib. The toddler woke, crying, confused and scared. Maya! Scared! I know, baby. I've got you. You're safe with me. She held him tight, moved toward the doorway. Dominic blocked her path. Basement. Now. There's a reinforced room. You and Nico lock yourselves in. Don't come out until I come get you myself. What about you? I'm ending this. Tonight. His eyes were black with rage. She wants a war? I'll give her one. Dominic, please. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel.